Tennessee is Orlando bound for the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. Didn't see that one coming into the weekend. Knew it was a possibility, but it was a wild championship Saturday, and thus Tennessee is in Orlando. Everything on that and why this is a great thing for Tennessee, all here on a Monday, Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good Monday morning, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Vols. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every single day. I'm your host, Eric Cain. Appreciate you for being here, you everydayers, for making Locked On Vols your first listen every single day. I know a lot of you guys listen to a lot of other podcasts throughout the day, so I can't thank you enough for tuning in and watching us on YouTube channel. Let's go ahead and subscribe and get to 10K there. But more importantly, downloading us and listening to us wherever you listen to your podcast. Gonna have a fun show today. Of course, it's brought to you in part by this episode, LinkedIn Jobs. These days, every new potential hire can feel like that high-stakes wager for your small business. You got to check out LinkedIn Jobs. You can post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions do apply. So, Tennessee is going to the Citrus Bowl. The good, the bad from that. Gonna make a lot of enemies here in segment number 2, so go ahead and stick around. The College Football Playoff Committee got it right. By definition, it got it right. And I'll get more into this in segment 2. That does not mean it got it right every single year. It does not mean it stayed consistent in what it's done. But by definition, the College Football Playoff Committee got it right. More on that in segment number 2. And then who benefits from these additional bowl practices? Some underclassmen on Tennessee's roster that could really move the needle a little bit in the month of December. All that and more coming up here on a Monday Locked On Vols. Don't forget your Twitter Tuesday show, mailbag edition of the show. That is happening tomorrow. So questions, comments, concerns, all that and more at _Cain or at Locked On Vols. All right, Tennessee is in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl in Orlando, Florida. It's going to be New Year's Day. It's not a New Year's Six Bowl game, but it's New Year's Day. It's going to be Monday, January the 1st at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. That game is going to be televised on ABC, and its opponent is going to be Iowa. So you talk about two contrasting styles of football. One's exciting, one's Stone Age. One plays a lot of great defense that Eric Cain likes. One is not consistent on defense, but one's an exciting brand of football that goes fast and plays fast and goes up-tempo, no huddle, all that type of stuff. The other was shut out a couple times this year, most recently by number 1 Michigan in the Big Ten championship game over the weekend. So Iowa's coming in at 10-3 on the season. Tennessee's coming in at 8-4, and those two teams are going to clash on New Year's Day in the Citrus Bowl in Orlando on January the 1st. Again, back-to-back years where Tennessee had not been to any prominent bowl games. First time, I believe, since 2003, Tennessee played in a New Year's Six Bowl game. That was last year. First time since 2002, I believe, Tennessee's been to the Citrus Bowl. And yeah, sure, I mean, Steve Spurrier can make all the jokes he wants back in the 90s about can't spell citrus without UT. Okay. Well, for a program that hasn't been relevant in 15 years, again, it's a nice little consolation prize, if you will, after a quote-unquote disappointing 8-4 season. If I were to told you that Tennessee went 9-3 and made it to the Citrus Bowl before this season, would you have taken it? Because I think a lot of you would. Now, Tennessee finished 8-4. There was one more loss in there. But winning record, getting to at least 8 wins, and going to a bowl game to the level of the Citrus, I think a lot of you guys would have been taking that. Again, I'm not saying be complacent or anything. I'm not saying that you should strive for the Citrus Bowl and 8 wins every single year. I'm not saying that at all. But I think you would have taken that in a heartbeat, in my opinion, because again, until you get to the level where Dabo was, until where Saban, was and is, and Kirby Smart and Ryan Day and Jim Harbaugh, consistent double-digit win seasons, it's just not very common in college football because there's so much turnover. There's, now with the transfer portal, there's even more turnover. So, we'll see if Tennessee can get there. But nonetheless, Citrus Bowl is definitely better than the Reliquest Bowl or Outback Bowl, whatever the heck it's called right now. It's much better than the Jacksonville Gator Bowl, that's for sure. Much better than the Duke's Mayo, much better than the Liberty, and of course the Music City in terms of prestige. And so, yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm excited about this. Thought all along that Tennessee was going to be playing in the in the Gator Bowl. I mean, we've been thinking that for weeks, right? And if everything held up with chalk, then that was likely going to be the case. But you had Alabama that upset Georgia. You had you had Washington that took down Oregon. You had Texas that blew out Oklahoma State in its conference championship. I mean, you had some things that kind of changed the narrative a little bit. And then when you look at that pecking order, it comes down to, could the SEC get 4 teams in the playoff and or New Year's Six bowl games combined? If it got 4 teams, then yeah, Tennessee would be sitting up pretty well for either Tampa or Orlando. The SEC did get 4 teams in there. Of course, you've got in the college football playoff, Alabama's the 4 seed, and then you got Missouri in the Cotton Bowl, you got Ole Miss in the Peach Bowl, and you got Georgia in the Orange Bowl. LSU was in the Citrus Bowl a season ago, so it worked out pretty well for Tennessee go to Orlando in the Citrus Bowl, and so I'm excited to see, kind of what that looks like. You look at Tennessee in terms of, what it's done in the Citrus Bowl. First time in 22 years that Tennessee will be playing in the New Year's Day Camping World Stadium down there in Orlando. The 6th appearance in the Citrus Bowl for Tennessee, the first since a 45-17 win over Michigan on New Year's Day back in 2002. Of course, Tennessee's 8-4, Iowa's 10-3. It's going to be on New Year's Day. Let's see. The Action Network already has Tennessee as an 11.5 favorite in this football game. We'll see what FanDuel has it tomorrow morning. Let's see here. Tennessee and Iowa have already met 3 times over its series history. Tennessee won the most recent 45-28 in the Gator Bowl back in 2014. The Vols are 23-22 over the Hawkeyes. They won 23-22 over the Hawkeyes in New Jersey all the way back in 1987. Iowa beat Tennessee 28-22 in the Peach Bowl at Fulton County Stadium, may it rest in peace, down in Atlanta, back in 1982. So, again, Tennessee's been at the Citrus Bowl, hadn't been since 2002. Tennessee's played the Hawkeyes. It's played Iowa 3 times. This will be the 4th time in program history that it's played Iowa, and it's going to be all on New Year's Day. So, I still think that, sure, 8-4 is a little disappointing, but it kind of shows you where your program is when on a disappointing year you're going to the Citrus Bowl, which is the highest rated bowl game for an SEC opponent, not in the New Year's Six. I think it says a lot about where you are and where Josh Heupel is building this program. So, job well done in that regard. And I think that, Iowa's defense is so good. Iowa's offense is so atrocious. It's going to be so interesting. And I think the thing that's going to, give Iowa a run for its money is, sure, you're so great defensively, but you haven't seen tempo whatsoever. Tempo's got to be Tennessee's best friend in this bowl game. And, I'll have my first glance piece up at VolQuest.com probably later today, maybe tomorrow, and we can look a little bit deeper into who exactly Iowa is. But what we know about it, atrocious offense, great defense, slow pace, going up against, it truly is, as Brett Murphy called it, the tortoise and the hare. And so I'm excited about that. So Tennessee's going to the Citrus Bowl. That will be a whole lot of fun. Looking forward to that. And what about the rest of the college football playoff? Again, Tennessee did make the playoff. I recognize all that, but it's the hottest conversation in sports right now. So we're going to talk about it here on Locked On Vols. That is coming up in segment number 2. Why the College Football Playoff Committee got it right. You're going to disagree with me, and that's fine, but let's be adults about this. Let's talk about it. That's coming up in segment number 2. I want to tell you about our friends over at LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for small businesses, you want to have as many top-tier candidates as possible to interview. That's why you've got to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. And LinkedIn Jobs isn't just another job board. LinkedIn is kind of vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which make it the best chance and place to find somebody to hire for your business. Hiring is easy when you have many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours by using LinkedIn Jobs. Even launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker for you. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That is linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. All right, guys, welcome back into your Monday edition of Locked On Vols. Nothing like upsetting the audience on a Monday, and this has nothing to do with Tennessee. It truly doesn't. But here's why I believe, my opinion, you have your opinions, I have my opinions. This is why I believe the College Football Playoff Committee got it right. First and foremost, let me just say, thankful that you're going to a 12-team playoff, right? Because sure, there's always going to be debates. There's always going to be nitpicking and all that. But in a 12-team playoff, college football playoff, you will not have a Power 5 conference champion who is undefeated be left out of the playoffs. This will never happen again. Sure, if you're a Florida State fan listening to Locked On Vols right now, not sure what you're doing here, but that's not going to make you feel any better. I recognize that. But this will never happen again with a college football 12-team playoff. So all this to say as well, there could have been a 12-team playoff this year. This year, there could have been a 12-team playoff. We're going to get to some of these comments from Mike Norvell, head coach of Florida State, the athletic director of Florida State, the ACC commissioner. They had a lot to say, putting the college football playoff committee on blast on Sunday afternoon. And I'm here with them. I get their frustrations, and I get it. And if I were in their shoes, I'd do the same exact thing. But let's not forget that in February of 2022, the three members of the Alliance, do you remember that? The Alliance, the ACC, the Big Ten, the Pac-12, all voted against expanding the college football playoff earlier than 2024. Remember when we came on this program? It was right before the college football national championship a season ago. And we said, man, the playoffs might even be here a year earlier. We'll find out. There's an emergency meeting of the college football playoff committee and some of the subsequent members, before this, they're meeting before this game, and we'll see what happens. They voted to see if they wanted to expand the playoffs prior to 2024, but members of the Alliance, the ACC, the Big Ten, and the Pac-12 all voted against expanding the playoffs prior to 2024. You fast forward 2 years later, it sucks. I get it, but here you're Florida State. You're an undefeated Power 5 champion. You just won the ACC. Clearly, you are not the same football team you were a month ago. Why is that? Because your All-American quarterback is hurt, and I get it. I understand it, all right? Football is a team game, okay? Football, you need the 10 other guys around you to make the play go. I get all that. But you can't sit here and tell me, with a functioning brain, with all due respect, that Florida State is as good and as dangerous right now as it was a month ago. It's just not possible. And that brings us into the conversation. Bill Hancock, Boo Carrington, whatever his name is, they have repeatedly said it's the four best teams. It's the four best teams. It's not the four most deserving teams. It's the four best team. I hear you. In years past, they've done four most deserving. They've done four most deserving. I hear you. That's what's happened in year past. So if you want to be frustrated by the lack of consistency with the members of the committee, okay, as a group. But if you go by what your selection process is and bringing in the four best teams, I'm sorry, it sucks. Florida State is not one of the four best teams in the country right now. And yeah, results have to matter. Why play the games? I get all that. And if I'm a Florida State fan, I sympathize with you. And I'd be doing the same thing if I was a Florida State fan. If I was a coach, an AD, anybody associated with Florida State, I'd be putting everybody on blast too. Everything's fine with the fire emoji all behind you, right? I'd be doing the same thing. But it's not one of the four best teams in the country right now, okay? You are not going to take the SEC champion, a one-loss SEC champion that just dethroned the number one team in the college football playoffs. You're not going to not take that team. And I understand everybody hates Alabama, and I get all that, and everybody says the Sankey, and everybody's just trying to, get Alabama and all that type of stuff. But if it was LSU, I'd be saying the same thing. You can't tell me that a one-loss SEC champion who just dethroned the number one team in the country in the college football playoff rankings that had a 29-game win streak, back-to-back national champions, that team doesn't deserve to be in the college football playoff. So, boom, Alabama's in. Michigan's in. I mean, it's a whole cheating scandal aside. Michigan's in, okay. Texas, who beat Alabama earlier in the year, and who went on to just demolish Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship game. They're in. And then you have Washington that had a convincing win. I think it was about 3 points at the end of the day, or 4 points. But, beat Oregon for the second time this year and looked good doing it behind quarterback Michael Penix Jr. in a running attack. I mean, Washington's got to be in. So there it is. And you could even make the case, if we're talking four best teams in the land, Georgia should have been in. Georgia, a one-loss team, sure. What if Georgia lost in week 2? Alabama lost in week 2, and then Alabama's fine, right? What if that was Georgia? Would Georgia be in the, if roles were reversed? I mean, that's a lot of what have you done for me lately, especially on Championship Saturday? So if we're really arguing here about the 4 best teams, Georgia should be in there as well. My whole point is this. The 12-team college football playoffs are coming next year. Okay? Thank God, because all these teams are deserving to get in. And sure, we can see them beat up on one another, and Florida State deserves to be in the playoffs, but Florida State would get beat by 25 points tomorrow on a neutral field if it played Alabama, if it played Georgia, on a neutral field, if it played probably Texas, if it played Michigan. It would get its brains beat in. And it sucks because that team has done so much this year, and it's not lost. And I get it. The fact of the matter is it's not the 4 best team, but next year in the 12-team playoff, it doesn't matter. You put them in, and whatever happens, happens. They get beat by 40, they get beat by 40, but they had a chance. They had a chance. So it's unfortunate. I get it. It's what it is. And a lot of people are saying, but the committee's never done this, but the committee's never done this. That committee changes seats all the time, right? I mean, these guys and gals that are on the committee, what is it, a 2-year term? The chair changes, every 3 or 4 years? I mean, it's constantly a rotation of people. And so you need to have a consistent mindset, and I think that's been lacking. But if you're truly going by the 4 best teams, the outrage for Alabama versus FSU, I just don't get. Because if Alabama played FSU tomorrow, Alabama would beat them by 25. It just is what it is. And FSU is not the same football team it was a month ago. It sucks. I hate it all. Quickly, I'm going to read just a couple of comments here. ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips calls the college football playoff decision unfathomable. Said that it failed college football today. Let's see here. Michael Alfred, Vice President and Athletic Director of Florida State University. The consequences of giving into a narrative of the moment are destructive, far-reaching, and permanent, not just for Florida State, but for college football as a whole. The argument of whether a team is most deserving or best is a false equivalence, okay? It renders the season up to yesterday irrelevant and significantly damages the legitimacy of college football playoff. The 2023 Florida State Seminoles are the epitome of a total team. To eliminate them from a chance to compete for a national championship is unwarranted injustice and shows complete disregard and disrespect for their performances and accomplishments. It is unforgivable. Again, I disagree with some of those things said right there, but I get it, and I do agree with a lot. I mean, it sucks. No ifs, ands, buts about it. It sucks, and this is an unpopular opinion. The stance I'm taking right now is unpopular, but I know I'm not alone because I watched Florida State yesterday, and boy, oh boy, was it dreadful offensively, okay? And you know what? The semifinal games in the college football playoff historically have been bloodbaths, so why not put Florida State in? Let them get their own, lose by 27, and call it a day. It's just wild, and I think that you got the four teams who are deserving, 4 teams who are good. I think we're going to get more entertaining football games. But again, if Georgia was in there, honestly, I'd have no issue because you can't sit here and tell me that Georgia's not one of the best 4 teams in the country. You just can't. And also, Georgia, without starting quarterback Carson Beck, would be more equipped to go win games against Alabama, against Texas, against Washington, and against Michigan than that of the likes of Florida State. Just kind of is where it is. I'm going to get off my soapbox here. I'm going to let you guys just tear me to shreds. I know a lot of you guys probably disagree with me, but that's just my opinion, and we're all open to have our own varying opinions. All right, when we come back, we know where Tennessee's going bowling. It's going to Orlando for the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. Who stands to benefit the most from 15 additional bowl practices? That is coming up next right here on Locked On Vols. Do want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Do you know that FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook? It's the official partner of the NFL. FanDuel does so much to get you in the game and to put some coin in your pocket. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That is $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel today, there's no better time to get in on all the action. This app is super easy to use. There's a wide range of betting operations, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. We love to play those totals. Player props is something for, if you're new to FanDuel, something specific that you can focus on, one specific player or one specific quarter All that and more in the player prop section as well. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon, FanDuel.com/lockedon, FanDuel.com/lockedon to continue the NFL season today. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. All right, let's welcome you back in here to a Monday show. Was preaching a little bit there in segment number 2, and a lot of you guys probably turned me on mute because you disagree with it, and that's okay. It is an unpopular opinion. I mean, who in their right mind would say that a team that was undefeated in Power 5 and a conference champion should be left out of the college football playoff? Not this guy, right? No, it was this guy. Also, I mean, do we not remember the BCS era? I mean, golly, we saw this all the time. Anyway, let's come back. Let's get back to a Tennessee focus. We know Tennessee's going to Orlando. We know Tennessee's going to be playing in the Citrus Bowl against Iowa. That's going to be on New Year's Day. So over the course of the next month, Tennessee will have 15 practices to get ready for Iowa, okay? 15 bowl practices. And so we go back to all the thing that says, you know, the old saying that like, oh man, it helps you so much. It's so critical to get those 15 practices. I used to believe that was paramount. I used to believe the team struggling and a big reason just to try to fight to get to bowl eligibility was because you got all those 15 practices. And it's not like it hurts. It's not like it hurts at all. But this is not make or break. Tennessee's not going to go win 11 games next year because you got these extra 15 bowl practices in. But it doesn't hurt. And I do think it's beneficial for some players. It's also an interesting time because as we're going to see today's the official opening of the transfer portal officially. So no more of these intend to enter the transfer portal. You're here. You're entering the portal, right? And so we're going to see a lot. I mean, it's going to be a news day for Tennessee. There's going to be players entering the portal. We already know of a couple that plan on entering the portal. We already know one graduate student who has entered the portal because they can go ahead and do that. It's going to be a busy day. It's going to be a busy week. And not only, you know, transfer portal, losing players from your team, there will also be players on your team that will go through bowl practices, play in the bowl game, and then enter the portal right after the bowl game. There will be COVID seniors who are making their decisions on if they are going to return or not. Again, it's going to be a busy time. So injuries also were impacting kind of what your roster is looking like. Who's healthy enough to practice? Who's going to be here in practice? And it creates some pretty interesting situations for some players. So here are 5 players that I want to highlight that can really benefit from these bowl practices. Let me know what you think. Number, in no particular order really, but Andre Turrentine, okay? He started the last 2 games at safety. He played a lot in the non-conference wins, 25 snaps against Virginia, 33 against UTSA, 34 against UConn. But prior to Wesley Walker's injury late in the season, he'd only played a combined 16 snaps in 4 other games. And so it's not truly like Andre Turrentine was part of the rotation, but he played a combined 142 snaps in the last 2 games of the season because of that injury to Georgia and Vanderbilt. So I don't think Wesley Walker is going to be able to play in this game. So for Andre Turrentine, I mean, your audition for 2024 to be a starting safety continues, and you get to treat this next month as if you are truly going into a new season, if you will, as a starting safety. I think that's going to be big for him. Pro Football Focus didn't think Andre Turrentine played well. Again, that's why I say you take everything from PFF with a grain of salt. I thought Andre Turrentine did some good things, and I know he did some bad things, but I thought he was much better than what that PFF grade reflected. And they had him at 35.3 and 41.5 in Tennessee's games against Georgia and Vanderbilt. I mean, are you kidding me? You mean to tell me Andre Turrentine graded out of 41.5 against Vanderbilt? Come on now. I think this could be continued auditioning for Andre Turrentine to be a safety, to be a starting safety in 2024. So he's the first player I want to highlight. The second player would be Dylan Sampson. Yeah, there's rumors. Yeah, yada, yada, might be entering the portal, all that type of stuff. I think Dylan Sampson is going to be part of this team. I think Dylan Sampson is going to play in the bowl game. That's just me right now. Could change tomorrow, but that's just kind of where I'm at. I think Jalen Wright's going to go to the NFL, and if that's the case, I don't think Jalen Wright's going to play in this football game. Jabari Small, what's he going to do? Is he going to try his shot at the NFL? Is he going to move on through the transfer portal? I don't know, but the belief is that Jabari Small is probably not going to be part of this team in 2024. What's that mean for his bowl status? Regardless, I think there's snaps to be had and reps to be had there in practice. And Dylan Sampson, who, in my opinion, is going to enter as you know, running back option 1A, along with 1B and Cam Seldon. Cam Seldon might need to be on this list as well, because if you don't have Jabari Small or Jalen Wright for bowl practices, I mean, you talk about a guy that would really benefit. That's Cam Seldon. But anyway, Dylan Sampson, who possesses every trait you want in a running back in this offense, I think can truly benefit. Kind of having a starter's mindset where he's been option 3 all year long. I think that, and arguably the second most productive, there's no argument about it. He's been the second most productive running back on the team. But you can kind of have that starter's mindset again here in bowl season. So Dylan Sampson's my second one. Caleb Herring would be my third player I'm highlighting. Sure, he was buried under the Leos this year. Roman Harrison was the starter. James Pierce, Joshua Josephs. We know about the season Pierce had. Joshua Josephs got a ton of run there. Not as much as the other two. But, Caleb Herring played in the non-conference games. And then really it wasn't until the injury towards the end of the year to Roman Harrison that Herring even kind of cracked the playing field there towards the end. He played, I think, like 10 snaps against Missouri, 11 snaps against Georgia, and played a lot against Vanderbilt because of the blowout. But, Caleb Herring's a guy that I think likes Rodney Gardner. I think likes Tennessee. And as we know, you play multiple Leos. Where's Joshua Josephs going to be? Is he going to be returning? Haven't heard anything, but, we know the era of college football today. You see James Pierce go off. You see James Pierce get all these snaps. Roman Harrison's leaving. My point is there's going to be opportunity next year for Caleb Herring, and Rodney Gardner likes him a lot. He needs to continue to add weight to a 6'5" frame and see what happens. I think Caleb Herring could truly benefit from these practices. Ricky Gibson's another one. So unlike his freshman counterparts in the defensive secondary, John Slaughter, Jack Luttrell, Jordan Matthews, and Christian Conyer, those four, by the way, combined for only 11 defensive snaps in 2023. Yeah, again, hear me out. John Slaughter, Jack Luttrell, Jordan Matthews, Christian Conyer combined for 11 defensive snaps in 2023. Good Lord. I mean, that is not good. Ricky Gibson found the field several times at cornerback. He had 136 defensive snaps on the year. He appeared in 5 South Atlantic Conference games. Pro Football Focus graded him out at 66.2, and he had his highest grade of 68.6 in the season finale over Vanderbilt. What's the cornerback position going to look like, right? Warren Burrell's already announced he's going to the transfer portal as a graduate transfer. What does Danico Slaughter do? Gabe Judy Lawley and Brandon Turnage. All three of those guys have COVID years left. Will they elect to return to campus? Will some of them hit the transfer portal? I don't know. We'll see. My point is, Gibson has a great chance to start at the position in 2024. And depending on what some guys do in front of him, has a great chance to start or play in the bowl game as well. So I'm excited to see what Ricky Gibson can do. I think Gibson's a guy that can benefit from these 15 practices. And then finally is a guy in Sham Umarov. All right, he is the freshman offensive tackle that is redshirting this year. He appeared in 3 games, 3 of the blowouts. But kind of like the quarterback position, who in the world is going to play offensive tackle next year? Gerald Mincy, we think he's going to return, maybe at this time. We'll see if it exactly happens. He's a redshirt junior. Dane Davis, we believe, is going to return. He's got a COVID year of eligibility. We'll see if that turns out to be true. John Campbell at this time, I would probably expect not to come back, but we'll see. Jeremiah Crawford is out of eligibility. We know that for sure. But who's going, who's coming, and potentially who could they get out of the transfer portal? My point is, what in the world is that offensive tackle position going to look like? It's really not been settled the entire time Josh Heupel's been here, to be honest with you. And that's with the top 10 at offensive tackle last year in Darnell Wright. It's not been settled across the board, to be completely honest with you. So for Sham, I mean, what an opportunity, right? I mean, I don't think you're going to see much playing time, if any at all, in the bowl game. But again, get reps on top of reps on top of reps. If you're getting second team run in these 15 additional bowl practices, that should propel you nicely into spring practice, where you do need to make the case to say, hey, I can help Tennessee right now. I like Sham. I like his makeup. Of course, it was a typical redshirt season as a freshman, offensive lineman in Tennessee's system. It's a big offseason for Sham and some of these other freshman offensive linemen like Aiden Bussell, Vyson Lang. But I think Sham's kind of the leader in that clubhouse. I think he could benefit from 15 additional practices here in the month of December. Those are my 5 players: Andre Turrentine, Dylan Sampson, Caleb Herring, Ricky Gibson, and Sham Umarov, who I think could benefit from some additional practices here as Tennessee gears up for the Citrus Bowl in Orlando, Florida, New Year's Day, 1 o'clock Eastern on ABC. Hey, fun show here on a Monday. Can't wait to come back and discuss a lot of other things here on a Tuesday. Your mailbag questions, comments, concerns, statements, whatever you want to say, @_Cainer, @LockedOnVols. It is when you take over the show every Tuesday right here on Locked On Vols. Can't thank you enough for being here. If you haven't already, please subscribe to Locked On Vols on the YouTube channel, and we'll talk again tomorrow, guys. Appreciate it.